You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everybody! Curse of Chucky's coming on video soon. You know what that means?
Another episode of Don't F with the Original.
That's right. I'm Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic.com, and I'm sitting with...
Nicholas, I'm the video correspondent for Idiomatic.com.
And so, since Curse of Chucky is coming out, we thought we'd review the movie that started it all, almost 5 movies ago, I believe. And we're talking about Child's Play, 1988 movie.
Which is surprising, because I was really expecting better effects for 88, but, you know, whatever.
I actually think the special effects are pretty good. That's interesting. So, I guess we'll have a lot to talk about.
Indeed.
Because we're going to review it.
Yep.
Alright, so for those of you who don't know, Child's Play is the story of a criminal who's, like, being pursued by the cops, and he knows voodoo. It's very politically correct, people.
Of course.
And he ends up in a toy store, and he's shot and he's dying, so he transfers his soul into a good guy doll. Now, a good guy doll, for you, those of you who are not familiar with My Buddy from the 1980s,
Yeah.
it's essentially sort of a life-size
4-foot tallish doll.
Doll, right?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be like your kid's friend, essentially. So your kid who's socially inept will carry it around with him all the time and have fun with his
And it
imaginary buddy.
says a few sentences once in a while, you know, like, I want to be your friend, or I love you.
Yeah, it had a cassette taped in its back so that he could do that.
Yeah.
So that's what My Buddy was. That's a real toy, and so the Chucky doll is essentially the same thing. Cut to Andy, little, what is he, 4 years old, I guess?
I don't know, because he's going to school, so he's older than 5.
Yeah, so okay, let's say 5.
5, 6-ish.
5, 6-ish. He looks really young.
Yes.
Anyway, and he's like criminally being neglected, because like he's making like cereal and breakfast for himself, and it's just like, and it's actually a little bit disturbing because I would never let my kid of that age operate the oven and the stove the way that they let him do it.
He uses the toaster and he pours cereals, but I remember I was 6. I could pour cereal in the bowl without spilling it all over like he did. So it's really weird to me.
Anyway, he wants a good guy doll desperately, so of course his mother goes and buys it from a bum.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do.
Of course.
You know, when you want to give your kid a safe toy, what you do is you buy it from the back street somewhere.
Yeah.
So Mother of the Year there, she does that. And it turns out, of course, to be the possessed doll. And he eventually finds out that he's going to become more and more human as it goes. And so I guess that means he's going to end up into a really ugly looking redhead. And he really doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And the solution to not ending up that way is for him to transfer his soul into the first person to whom he revealed himself as being alive, which happens to be little Andy.
Yeah. I didn't really believe it. It wasn't really believable as a human being. And I'm not talking about the doll, I'm talking about the kid. Okay, that kid's delivery was terrible. He's always like, this is my happy tone, this is my sad tone, this is my angry tone.
That's interesting because I actually feel the opposite way. I think Alex Vincent, who plays Andy, is actually really quite good. He actually engaged me much more than the adults. Like, we'll talk about his mother in a little bit, but I had much more trouble with her acting than his. But I thought Andy worked for me. I get what you mean. Like, he is a very young actor. Like that's why I did not think he was 6. I think the kid actor looked 4 or 5 to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, he does have a tendency to sort of shout all of his lines.
Yeah.
And so I totally see where you might have like disembarked from the Andy journey, because he does shout all his lines. But I thought when he was afraid, when he wasn't necessarily talking, when he was hiding and whatnot, he was quite convincing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad when he shuts his mouth, he's good. That's good.
Like, one of the things I liked about him is that he doesn't try to be cute. He never tries to be cute. And part of it is the director not really letting him mug to the camera, as most child actors will tend to do.
Yeah.
And part of it, I think, is like that kid like looks like totally lost in this movie, like to a certain degree. But like for me, to an effect that it works is he doesn't have time to act. Because there's one thing that I don't like it with kid actors is when they act and they're not very good. Like if you're Dakota Fanning and you act, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But if you're like sort of a mediocre kid actor, and for which I don't blame you, like you're a kid, it's hard to act, and you start acting, that's where I'm like, yeah, okay, moving on.
Yeah.
And I find that Mancini, the director, never really lets him act. Like they move the camera fast enough, he says his line and then gets into the situation.
Okay, then we can talk about the mom, which I affectionately call Seventh Heaven Mom. She has never been good in any movie I've ever seen her in. And I mean, I like Star Trek The Voyage Home. It's one of my favorite Star Trek movie, but she almost destroyed that movie, and she does it here as well. She's good at being a very naggy character, which is just, I don't like that. Terrible mother, in addition to that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. When you have a character that's behaving in function of the plot, which is what she's doing. She's buying a freaking doll for her kid off the streets.
Yeah.
Like, nobody does that in real life. It's something a character does of the plot, and it makes her quite unsympathetic. You need a really good actress to sell that moment so that you can forgive that moment and just go, oh yeah, the plot got wonky here. Instead of you just going like, wow, what a terrible mother. You know? And she doesn't pull it off. Like, throughout the entire movie, all it goes like, somebody call social services.
Yeah. Even before that, which started the whole thing, it's the kid's birthday, and she gives him clothing for his birthday as a gift. Okay, this is rule number 1 for parenting for everybody out there. Never give clothing or back-to-school supplies to your kid as a gift, whether, his birthday or Christmas. Those are terrible gifts. Kids hate those. Give them toys. Crying out loud.
It's like giving your wife an ironing board. Like, don't do that.
You think, okay, she lives in a very poor place. No, she lives in a nice apartment with a fireplace, for crying out loud.
They're set in New York, too. And she has, like, the biggest apartment in New York, apparently. And, like, I'm struggling. It's like, get a smaller place. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Get rid of the fireplace. I know it's a very important plot point, the fireplace, but still,
No, and like you say, like, she comes off very whiny. And, it's a frustrating movie as well for her character because this is one of those movies where the kid has sort of figured something out, and then he has to tell the parents, and the parents insist on not believing the kid. Like, we've seen that a gazillion hundred times.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really frustrating to watch because you, as the audience, know the truth. And even though it makes sense that a parent wouldn't believe that the toy is alive, because, well, why would you believe that?
Yeah.
You should, at least as a parent, register, like, there's something wrong with my kid.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
And what's her reaction to that? She lets the police take the kid, and is like, yeah, he's going to be under observations for a couple of days in the psych institute. And she's like, she's fine with it. Just take my kid, whatever. A few days off from parenting, I'm guessing.
Moving on.
Yeah.
To a performance that I think was actually stellar in the movie, though. And I think that's how the movie got most of its momentum as a franchise and its reputation. As sort of a B-lister, but still.
Yeah.
It's Brad Dourif's performance as the voice of Chucky.
Yeah.
He is fan-freaking-tastic. Like, his growing impatience with his situation is hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be played as a joke. Like, it's not like he's hamming it up and he's not... No. He's totally playing this sort of private joke throughout the movie as this arc of this guy's going like, what did I just do to myself? And how the hell am I going to get out of this?
Yeah.
It's fantastic. He's so good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. It's good voice acting. And you can really feel he's getting angry and annoyed, and he's doing, whatever he wants. And when he knows he's in control and he's trying to, get rid of the adults, you can see he's kind of having fun with it as well. So it is kind of enjoyable to listen to.
There's a fantastic scene where the mother finally starts believing her kid and, like, grabs the little Chucky doll and goes like, will you be my friend? And she's like, you tell me what's going on, or I'm going to throw you on the fire. And there's this, like, small silence, and then Chucky loses it.
Yeah.
Like, you bitch, I'm going to kill you! It's all Brad Dourif. Like, it's like, look, like you say, it's like a 4 feet tall doll facing an adult. Like, he's not exactly a threat to her.
Yeah.
But his intonations, like, he's so losing his freaking little mind
Yeah.
that you actually start getting a little bit jarred by it.
Yeah, because when you think about it, it's a doll. If you lift it off the ground and hold it at arm's length, it cannot do anything to you, really. Okay. But him, just his intonation and the fact that I guess the actors kind of trashed it all around, really making it that, wow, this doll can fly or something, or is really a threat. You can really believe that, okay, maybe the doll can do something to her, all right, I'll start believing that. But
certainly he would be scary enough that she would drop it.
Yeah, yes, you're right. Yeah, you're like, what the hell's happening? What's that? Yeah, you're right. I could totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so really, like, Brad Dourif in there, for me, makes the movie. Like, this is for those of you who don't know, like, the level of success of the movie is not great. Like, this is not, like, one of the top-tier, best-remembered cult classic of all times. Okay. It's sort of a second-tier success. Like, when you think of the great monsters of the 80s, you tend to think Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers from Halloween, even though he started in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then you get into the second tier, and the second tier is like the Hellraiser Cenobites and Chucky.
Yeah.
It's like everybody knows who they are, but nobody's actually seen the movie.
Nice.
And I think that's where he belongs.
Yeah, really.
And I think he only belongs there because of Brad Dourif's performance and also the concept. I like the concept of putting a child in real danger, which you don't see in movies a lot.
That's true.
And it is really scary. Like, if you're going to do a doll movie, and God knows there's way too much of those.
Yeah.
A doll versus adult, who cares? But a doll trying to outsmart a kid, now you get a little bit more scared.
Yeah, especially a doll with an adult mind. You know the kid. The kid's pretty much dead. Unless he's really, really crafty and really manages to.
Which Andy is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it actually watchable. It's like, how is the kid gonna get out of it? He's pretty much stuck in jail at one point, or observation for psychological profile, or whatever. And Chucky's coming for him, so he's stuck in the room, locked in there, and there's a murder coming for him. How is he gonna get out of there? And you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. That's how he's doing it, and you enjoy seeing that.
Those scenes are the most effective. That scene where Andy escapes the Chucky from the police station is a really, really good scene. I sort of noted it as well as one of the best scenes in the movie, and that's what it is. It's like, because you end up rooting for Andy a lot because, well, he's at a disadvantage on account of being a kid.
Yeah.
And then he turns out to be really crafty, but not like supernaturally crafty.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a smart kid. Like, he's not a genius.
No, he's not.
And so it's really engrossing because you end up really liking that kid. And more to the point, Chucky has a mission that's sort of proportional to his physical capacities as a human doll.
Yeah, pretty much.
Although
when you have like dumb adult characters, you can see that Chucky can also kind of be, a match for them as well. I mean, at one point he attacks the police officer in the car from behind, and what does the police officer do? He steps on the gas. I mean, he really floors it, and you're like, somebody's attacking you from behind, you're in the car. Put the car on the side of the road, and then turn around, and,
Well, in fairness, you're caught by surprise, you tense up.
Yeah.
You're going to press on something, and usually when you're driving, your foot's on, not always on the brake.
Yeah, but I don't know, still. He stepped on the accelerator for a very, very, very long time. It was really just a way for the movie to make it seem that Chucky's a threat to him, because, besides that, he's a police officer with a gun fighting against a doll. So if he's not acting in a really, really, really dumb way by pressing the accelerator when he's not supposed to, well, there's no real combat there. It's kind of pointless. So yeah, the adults have to act dumb to be compensated for the fact that they're fighting a doll.
That's a fair criticism.
So one mistake once in a while I can get. Nobody's perfect, but when you're dumb all the time, you're like, come on, smarten up, please.
I agree with that. I think what does drag the movie down away from being one of those truly celebrated horror movies, as opposed to a notionally celebrated horror movie, is the fact that it requires a whole bunch of law enforcement officers, a terrible mother, a really gullible cast of adults just all around.
Yeah.
just frustrating you so much throughout the movie because you can't believe anyone with a modicum of intelligence or sensitivity would behave this way.
Yeah.
And I agree, it does drag the movie down a little bit. It makes the movie feel slower than it actually is, I find.
That's true. Because I don't really care about those scenes. It's like, okay, it's dragging on. Okay, he's still in the car's still accelerating. I know he's not going to die. He's the main character. Get to the point at the end there, you know. It's the middle of the movie. He's not going to die. This is pointless action schlock that I could see better action in other movies if I wanted to. Just go back to the doll scaring the kid at least, and, you know, we'll have a movie here. But there's too much of the doll fighting the adults.
Well, it's because the doll needs to ramp up the body count as per slasher rules, if you will, and certainly to establish the threat in the director's mind. Whether or not that's necessary, I think, is debatable.
Yeah.
And it can't just kill the kid, because then the movie's over.
Yeah.
So it's sort of biding its time, but getting to that point, I don't know that it was necessary. I think we are inherently geared towards wanting a child to feel safe, so you don't need the doll to go like, if I say I'm going to kill a kid, I better kill an adult to prove that I can do it. It's like, no, just you saying you're going to kill a kid is already very disturbing to me. You don't need to ramp it up, you know?
And I mean, he killed adult in smarter ways, you know, when the adults couldn't do anything about it. Like, he killed his partner by, opening up the gas in his house and, blowing it up. It didn't require the other guy to act like an idiot or dumb. It just, he blew up the house and there's nothing the other guy could do about it.
Well, you bring up that scene. I actually think, in terms of the special effects, one of the better scenes is actually that scene where he meets up his old partner who taught him the voodoo and all of that.
Yeah.
And he's, like, standing on the windowsill, and, like, that's the first time you see him fully animated as opposed to just glimpses of him.
Yeah.
I thought he looked great. Like, I thought the movements in there really worked. Like, they're not quite human because he's not quite human. So, at the same time that it looks animatronic, you think, like, well, a living doll would look that way.
Yeah.
But what I liked about it is that his frustration, his anger on the facial expressions all come across. And that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the face changes, though. It's a doll. How do you change... I don't know. If he can change his face, he can move more fluently. I don't know. There's a weird...
Well, there's some interesting implications.
Does not compute here, but,
There are some interesting implications, because, he goes back to the normal good guy face. It's like, does that mean that, like, Brad Dourif actually, like, the character actually has to... Well, Chuck, I should say, is his character's name, Charles whatever, actually has to grin and stay, like, in a grin face, like, all this time to maintain that... And, like... How does he always get that perfect grin? Like, does he stare in the mirror until he gets it right and then goes to the kid? Like, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's the fake happiness smile, maybe it's his poker face, He has the smiley poker face, so he practiced it for years so he can do it automatically, There we go.
Why did he pick that doll, too? But anyway.
Yeah.
At least, well, he could have picked another toy. That would have been worse. It would have been, like, the worst Toy Story prequel ever.
Oh, wow. See, I would have picked Optimus Prime. At least, you can drive away. You're a little short, but,
I was going to say, you're a little short.
At least you can transform, which is cool.
Alright, let's get to the ending. We don't need to spoil anything. This movie is pretty much plays beat by beat as you would expect it to play. But
yes.
Man, horror movies, especially horror movies of that period, always had that thing where you think the killer's dead and then he comes back alive.
Yeah.
Like, in Child's Play, they do that like 10 times.
Yeah.
By something like around 7, I was like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah. It was like, you're like, of course he's still alive. The doll has been burned to a crisp, and after the police officer's like, what, this thing was alive? And then it starts moving again. You're like, oh, come on. Just somebody step on it and crush it already or something.
Well, it's another case of law enforcement officers acting like idiot as well. Because, like, the cops like, what, that thing was alive? It's like, even if it wasn't, like, you stop mucking with the evidence, please.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't take a picture of where it was, Exactly. So, CSI not going to be happy about that.
I think it would have been more efficient to remove the adults from the narrative at that point and just let Andy duke it out with the doll, because the scenes where Andy is outsmarting the doll in that final scene are pretty good, and then when Chucky has to sort of divert his attention to focus on the mother and the cop are sort of like really, really silly. Really silly.
Now it's like 3-on-1 with 2 adults, and you're like, oh, come on, this is not even fair anymore. The adults have to act extra stupid to compensate. And you're like, guys, just go ahead. Andy had this all under control before you got there.
Really, it's because the more you see the adults, the more it dawns on you. It's like, just grab him by the foot and bang him on the table just like a hammer, and he's gonna go like, oh, you bitch, stop, and just don't stop.
Yeah.
Like, that problem solved.
Exactly. But yeah, like you said, those are great too, because Andy is just running and hiding and doing stuff, and he's not talking. So, it really got me a little more invested into it. So I was like, oh, this kid is, pretty good at running around, which was fine.
But it's more than that. He does look scared.
Yes.
You do get when he has an idea and when he's just doesn't know what to do. He managed to get that across the little actor.
Yeah, you're right. That's something I did pick up. What happened in the other movies, by the way? You probably saw them as being a big horror fan.
Yeah, I've seen them all. The second one, the doll's still alive, and somehow he gets
refurbished.
Well, more than that, like, he gets into the pool of rubber, and they just redo a doll with his body, which is like, what toy factory does that? That's really like convoluted, like
recycling.
Really convoluted. It's good for the environment. Bad for Andy. Good for the environment.
And he goes back to get Andy?
Yeah, it's still Andy.
Oh my god!
And they filmed it like pretty much the next year, so
okay.
Andy's still very young at that point, and he's just started elementary school. That's why I assumed that he was like really young in the first movie.
Yeah.
And so it's still Andy running around. The mother's not there anymore.
Really? What happened to her?
They give the excuse that she went nuts. So he goes to live with his aunt and uncle, and I'm like, yeah, he should have gone to live with his aunt and uncle before, because his mother was terrible.
Pretty much.
So that's the second one. The third one, Andy's all grown up, but Chucky finds out that he's been reconstituted for the second time, and the first kid that he saw is no longer the same kid, so he goes after that kid instead.
Okay.
And they're in military school, and it's really bad. It's really, really bad.
Yeah, Chucky versus the people with a bunch of guns. That makes sense. Yeah. Guns and bombs.
Yeah. It's the third one is possibly one of the worst, and probably why the writer who's been writing all of them, just decided like, you know what, F this. This is just a really, really silly premise at this point. We're at number 4. There's no way of salvaging it. So he just went like full-on comedy for part 4 and 5.
Okay.
So part 4, you learn that old Charles had a girlfriend. And since he's stuck in the Chucky body and his time limit to get back to another body has long expired at this point.
Okay.
He's like, okay, well, I'm stuck in a body. I want a doll bride.
Oh, God.
So the fourth one is actually called Bride of Chucky as opposed to Child's Play 4.
Okay.
And so he gets his girlfriend, played by Jennifer Tilly, to become the doll, and they become this sort of like Manson family type killer dolls thing.
And she's cool with becoming a doll.
Oh, no, she is not.
Oh, okay.
It's part of the tension of the movie. It's actually really funny. It's
nice.
And then at the end, they have a child at the end of that movie. So the next movie is called Seed of Chucky.
Wow.
And so it's their family with a child who's a transvestite, and it's really weird.
Oh my god. I actually watched that one. That seems hilarious.
They are funny, and it is played for laughs. Like, so it's not like they think they're stupid or anything. Like, no, they just went like, we can't do anything with this. Like, let's just go crazy.
Nice.
And it's genuinely funny. So the fourth and fifth one are actually pretty good as horror comedies go.
But they F with the original. The original was supposed to be scary.
Yeah, which is why Curse of Chucky now goes back to its roots of being a scary horror movie. It is almost sort of a reboot of sorts, because from the trailer you can see that he's back to being not a complete mangled doll. Like,
okay.
So somehow he got refurbished or something,
Recycled again.
Exactly. Assuming it's the same doll, maybe it's another haunted Chucky. We really don't know anything. They haven't revealed anything other than they're going back to the roots and they're making it scary again.
Nice. Or I guess not so nice, because it wasn't that scary. I mean, it was
suspenseful.
Suspenseful. Thank you. When it was him versus the kid, but when he was against the adult, you were like, it was more like eye rolling than scary. So
well, that's the problem with every doll horror movie. It's like it's a doll.
Yeah. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to make it scary. Very, very curious.
They're gonna try. They gave Chucky a major makeover, which is not a bad idea at
Is
all.
he like 8 feet tall now? Maybe that's what make him scary.
No, but what they've done with this movie is quite cleverly. He's in a house with a child, but the mother is actually paraplegic,
Oh,
so her mobility is really compromised. So that makes Chucky much more of a threat.
okay. She can't step on it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and he can screw around with her electronic chairs and everything. So it's like she's in a much more compromised situation.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think they've thought it through this time around. You know?
Nice.
Of course, you can't make a sequel with that. Like, what is like he's just gonna hunt down paraplegic people, like you know.
Wow.
But you know, you can pull that stunt once, and Curse of Chucky seems to be that one.
Chucky, I think, is a franchise I would watch just, I'm going to sit down for 2 hours and watch this movie. It's not something I would do for these kinds of movies. So maybe when it's on video. Or maybe, sorry.
Oh, it's going straight to video.
It's on DVD. Sorry.
No, but DVD is a video. That's
Okay.
what the V in DVD stands for.
Oh, I thought video was the cassette. But alright, fine.
Learning with Dimitri. No,
Well, I still own the VCR, so it's all good.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think it's a franchise that should have made the jump to direct-to-video a long time ago. It finally is doing that jump, and a lot of people are going, "Oh, that's too bad." I'm like, no, look, there are some franchises that don't deserve the big budget. This is exactly where Chucky belongs, and I'm totally willing to rent that stuff up, watch it, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But like, come on, this is not a theater franchise because it's not going to attract new fans at
No,
this point.
no, really. I think the scary doll genre has been like overplayed.
Why do you think people are scared of dolls?
Because I don't know, maybe as a kid they're supposed to offer you protection. You know, you're tall. You go to bed with them. It's like it's going to protect me from evil monsters. Whereas now the doll is actually not doing that. It is the evil monster. So you basically have that thing that's supposed to be cuddly and protecting you, actually trying to kill you. And that might be why people think it's scary.
That's interesting. My take on it is a little bit different. I think it's because of the Uncanny Valley. Are you familiar with the Uncanny Valley?
No.
It's filmmakers have sort of figured out at some point that when you make a robot or whatever, there's a point where you make it too human and people are creeped out by it.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
And I think that's what dolls are. I think the Uncanny Valley is much wider for a child.
Okay.
Because our imaginations tend to run away with our imagination as a kid. So the Uncanny Valley is much wider, and the doll falls straight into it. Like, it sort of looks like you. It almost has your size in Chucky's case.
Yeah.
But it's clearly not human, but it sort of is, and that makes it kind of like an eerie little thing.
Yeah, especially since in the movie it talks, even when it's not evil, it says like those, the way it says "I love you" is so creepy. It really is. So I can totally see that there. Yeah.
So I think that's where it comes from. And as adults, as we grow up, we just sort of carry that sort of uneasiness with it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Makes sense.
Yeah. So, all right. You think it's going to F with the original, or do you wish it would? Or
it has to. I mean, unless the kid is very good, you can't involve people that can easily kick a doll down and hold it with their foot. Okay, so. The kid is fine. Paraplegic is fine because she has mobility issues. Don't bring in cops. Don't bring in other people. If you bring in other people, the doll has to, basically kill him with stealth. I was amazed in the first movie when Chucky killed the babysitter. It's just from behind, bang, a shot with a hammer, and she fell off a window. And it's like, if he kills all the adults that way, that's cool because he's using stealth. He's not being held back by his disadvantages,
Right.
So it's good that way. But if he's trying to like one-on-one fight, I'm going to kill you, and he runs with a little knife, it's like, no, I don't believe that. So you have to try and avoid these kinds of situations and have Chucky be, kind of a ninja, if you allow me the expression, and be a master of stealth and kill people when they're not expecting it. So he has to do that a lot more and a lot less confrontation one-on-one like they did in the first movie.
That's an interesting thought. I'm not a big fan of ninja-type kills in movies, mostly because you end up with jump scares.
Okay.
because he has to burst out of nowhere and then scare you. The person dies and that's it, and you're like,
Yeah.
But given that they went with a paraplegic protagonist and a child in a secluded area, like they seem to be like in the woods or somewhere, you can actually allow yourself to have a little bit more one-on-one fighting. What I want to see though is fewer victims. I find like there are too many in Child's Play, and that's where my suspension of disbelief is sort of stretched to its breaking point, where it's like, come on, like how much mayhem can a 4-foot doll do before people go like, hey, stop that, you.
Yeah.
Whereas like an extended hour and a half cat and mouse chase between the child, the mother, and that doll is enough. You don't need to kill a gazillion people for him to prove that he can kill.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Having said that, like when we start the show, we talk about what effing with the original is, and we have sort of both come to the conclusion that it's the spirit that you have to respect, but the rest, when you're remaking or sequelizing in this case, or rebooting rather in this case, you don't need to repeat all the same story beat for beat, but you need to keep the spirit, or maybe not, in the case that you're agreeing that it shouldn't. And I was thinking, what's the spirit of Child's Play as a series?
It's a doll killing people.
For me, it's Brad Dourif.
Yes.
It's all about Brad Dourif playing Chucky. He brings all of the personality that made this doll an icon as opposed to all the other killer dolls.
Yeah, you're right. Is he back?
He's back.
Oh, well then, they're fine. They'll do good.
That's what I think as well. It's like, I think respecting the original in the case of Child's Play means casting Brad Dourif. And since they did, I think we're good to go.
Yeah, shouldn't have a problem. It'll be entertaining.
Yeah.
We could have used like Christian Bale with the Batman voice, but they chose to keep with Brad Dourif, so it's all good. I'm gonna kill you now.
Mommy, I think my Chucky doll's broken. I don't understand what it's saying. I think it's low on batteries. I don't hear it well.
Could be worse. Could be the Bane program talking. So.
That would be spectacular. Mommy, let's put on the nightlight. You're afraid of the darkness? I grew up in the darkness.
Oh, God.
On that note, if you have any questions, comments, you want to do your impression of a better Chucky voice,
Nice.
you can mail us at mail@idiomatic.com or post a comment at idiomatic.com. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. We're also on iTunes. If you can like us on Facebook, that would be great. It really helps us get the support we need to provide you quality content. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do a voodoo spell and put Nick's soul into a doll.
That'd be cool.
Because that way I won't have to feed him anymore.
That's not cool.